Hi everyone, I'm Candace the Shaman.
And I am Spirit Medium Jen.
Here is a mini clip of our episode. If you would like to watch more, you can click on the link below.
Don't forget to like and subscribe for more amazing videos from our podcast.
You know, the ego, especially in the New Age movement, is kind of shamed a lot.
Yeah, it
right?
is. Yeah, it is.
Yeah. So let's talk about that. Like, how is it shamed?
Well, I think that we're taught that if we have any worldly desires or if we have this ego, that it's just negative. It's a negative thing, you know, when it comes into spiritual gifts, you know, like if you're living in your ego, from what everyone talks about is, you know, you can't have a session full of ego, which is totally true. But instead of shaming that, like maybe sometimes that shows up in a session, or sometimes when you're having a conversation with someone, all of a sudden you're like, well, I know better than that. I want to prove them wrong. Well, that's our ego showing up, trying to over trump maybe the person around us. And we've all been around people who are like that. And it's not very fun to experience. But instead of making it bad or wrong or saying you can't have those thoughts, because confidence can also be mistaken from having an ego, is if you have confidence or you have trust in yourself, people can view that as you having a big ego or a big head or being too cocky or too prideful. When you find a healthy balance, you can still be confident, but you can still honor each other. We were on a podcast, we were on a podcast on Friday and even today on a radio show. But we were delivering messages. So people would call in and I channel their loved ones. Candace would connect in to their body, to their energy, what they needed. She was delivering messages as well. And our friend Dana, but it was amazing because that could be such a situation where so much ego comes in where you have to be the one trumping, or my message was better. It was clear. It made more sense. It was on par, but we all work together. We set aside that ego to just help bring the collective wholeness. And that's finding a balance, is saying, I honor you, I honor your journey, and I honor mine. And that's okay. That's part of it. It's part of the journey. So we can't shame our ego because that makes us who we are in a lot of ways.
Yes, the personality.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. Gosh, you touched upon so many areas of
You're
the
like,
mind.
I want to talk about this and this and this and this.
Yeah, because the mind, for one of the first things you mentioned, it can be connected with shadow beliefs.
Yes.
Or ideas. So you think of in the tarot, the mind is connected to swords, which is connected to the element of air, which is in charge of your thoughts, your beliefs, and your stories.
Yes.
And so when we have individuals that come in our life that trigger some of those unconscious beliefs that are tied into our emotional body and our shadows as far as our self-worth and things like that, because a lot of times the mind and the emotional body, they work together very closely, where the mind coming from the overall perspective, beliefs, stories, concepts, the bird eyes view of this particular issue. And then it kind of dives down and it grabs its prey, from the ground, which could represent, and like a lot of times you'll see like images of the hawk or the eagle grabbing a snake in its talons. So you think about those shadow emotions, going down and grabbing the shadow emotions and carrying them, giving you an opportunity to bring those shadows to light, so that way you can look at them and process them and transmute them.
Yeah, it's a good thing that we have that if we use it in the right direction. My mom, my whole life, she's very big into Byron Katie.
Oh, I
in
love
doing
her
the
too.
work and how you flip it around and it is always about you, which I found very annoying when I was little.
Oh, I bet.
The older that I get, I'm like, that's so true. That's exactly what it is. And it's not shaming that aspect, but it's using it for good and noticing when that does show up as well.
So yeah, like one of the other things you talked about was, instead of ego shaming, their ego is not a bad thing. The ego helps shed light to ideas, concepts, and beliefs. And there are some that assist you and help you move forward on your vision. Just like you were talking about confidence, right?
Yes.
Let's say, you did that beautiful reel on yourself, which I would love to
Oh, the
get
I
one
am
done.
woman one.
Oh my gosh, it was so fantastic. For me, I look at, I'm like, yes, like yes, with capitals, YES, exclamation points all over the place. I'm like, yes, sister, go. But for someone who is being challenged, who is challenging their shadow of unworthiness, who struggles with confidence, sometimes when someone is standing in their power, which when one is standing in their power, their ego is aligned with their higher self. The ego, the mind, is in support of the higher vision, of the soul mission of that individual, and it's in support, which would give you more confidence, more passion, more drive, being able to see the bigger vision, being able to understand, keep clear about the direction that you're going with your life, and the message that you want to share, the energy you want to share with the world. Those are all the beautiful gifts of the ego and the mind, and they keep you on track.
Yeah,
right?
they do.
But when someone is aligned in that way, and then someone else is triggered and their shadow beliefs about themselves and what that means, like, oh, I need to be humble. I need to hide behind someone else who is worthy of that attention or authority or leadership, or there may be layers upon layers of shadow beliefs that are in there.
Well, it's interesting you're saying that, because on my mission, I served in Nashville, and I'm not gonna lie, I loved it.
Oh, it was a fun place.
Pretty good. Not in a cocky way. It was, spirituality is where I thrive. It's just what I love to do. It comes naturally to me. But I always felt like I needed to say, oh, like, not take, people were like, that was so amazing, great job. And I was like, oh, it wasn't me, it was God. Every time I would just give that back up to God. And at some points that's really amazing to do. But I feel like that also sometimes can minimize, because you're putting the effort in. You're also showing up. And if you're not a conduit, then that can't work through you. So it's also, you don't have to say,
finding
oh, thank you, that's all
balance.
me. But it was almost the point where it felt like I couldn't take any positive, I couldn't take any positive stuff towards me. I had to constantly give it up, which is great. But there is that fine line. It's like finding that balance, because then I wouldn't have confidence in myself. When in life, you need to have confidence in yourself to show up or to be on a phone call to do something.
Yeah.
Instead of always not giving yourself permission to have that as well.
Mm-hmm.
So I like what you're saying is like a healthy balance between the two. Because of course, being connected to the divine, God, your spirit, all of those things is so powerful. But it can't be everything if you're not willing to move forward, which shows you that having the ego is good in both ways.
Exactly. Because the ego helps you stay organized. It helps you stay focused. It helps create structure. So that way you can implement an idea, a vision, or into form.
Yeah.
And so you need the ego for that. If you need the ego to pay your bills, you need the ego to drive a car. If we don't use that energy in the right way, then of course then that's not healthy, right? But at the same time, we don't want to discount it either, like, because you do need it.
Yeah.
It's just about putting it in its rightful place. Thank you for watching Modern Sages. Don't forget to like and subscribe to our YouTube channel.
We are so grateful for your support. We have an Instagram account as well as on Facebook. We have our podcast, which is the Modern Sages podcast.
And we are so excited to launch our Gifts of Spirit classes in our Modern Sages Mystery School.
Absolutely. Oh, we're so excited. So we're going to link the information below in the show notes for more information about our mystery school.